came back with a better game plan. I'm always smarter, always better the second time around. That's what I did. I capitalized on what I had to do. And
Canelo's up and down off. Backs himself into the rope in the corner.
All right, so welcome to another one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. So let's get with it. Let's talk some boxing. So now we are in the twilight aftermath, right? It is Sunday, and we had just finished watching Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga, in which Canelo was defending 3 of his belts. Of course, you guys know he doesn't have the IBF anymore. But nevertheless, we had some pretty good fights. Unfortunately, the Danny Garcia and the Lara fight was a disappointment, but I'll probably talk about that one in another video. If you want to dive into the Spanish version of this one, you can hear it there. But also Plant versus Macumbi. I was very impressed with that bout, just because I didn't expect Macumbi to start at least strong in the first, 4 rounds. And then, of course, we had the Rolly Romero versus, I forgot that kid's name, the guy Jaime, right? So anyways, I want to talk specifically, though, about the Canelo Alvarez, or I'm going to say it's the return of the jab, people. This is so good because I always said for years, actually, that, and of course, the context and the proof, the proof was when Canelo fought Gennady Golovkin in the rematch, right? The second fight. For those of us that, Gennady's history, Canelo's history, or for those of us that were, tuned in back in 2018, or was it 2019 when the rematch happened, we were shocked in Canelo's, his game plan, right? In that fight. And it's a classico, in my opinion. It's a bona fide classic, because I think there are very few in the game who, one, have that type of power combined, Canelo and Golovkin, who are able to stay at close range in the pocket, or just taking firepower of that magnitude. The CompuBox from the two was amazing. Okay, and that's probably the start of Canelo's prime, maybe the tail end, obviously, of Gennady Golovkin. It's just the nature of the beast of when these two met. Okay, and for those of you that are, that might get a little salty in thinking about right now, just remember that, there was already talks with Andre Ward versus Golovkin years prior, at least 3 or 4 years prior to the Canelo meet. So again, unfortunately, Canelo had to was forsaken, right, to have this what they call the burden on Canelo, or I should say the Golovkin theme. But anyways, what I'm getting at is the revisions, right? The how would you say, the adjustments? I'm sorry. The adjustments in that, as this one cat, what was his name? Mike Alvarado. Remember Mike Alvarado when he beat Brandon Rios in the rematch? There's one saying that I always liked from Alvarado. It always sticks out. But he said, I always come back, prepared the second time around, or I'm always better the second time around. And I've always liked that because that proves on the work ethic and what fighters, boxers, what they do in the gym to make revisions and adjustments on a rematch. It's just the golden truth. And so with, I guess, a guy or a caliber of Mike Alvarado saying that, of course, that's applied to any level, any type of boxer, right? The ultra elite, the faces, the pound for pound. And so again, we've seen it with the Canelo Golovkin 2 rematch, right? Amazing bout, so different than the first fight. And again, Canelo has shown variances and different styles throughout his career. He's not a one-dimensional, he's not even a two-dimensional fighter. And a lot of these detractors or haters, they like to say, or they like to make others believe that Canelo is one-dimensional, but they'll say nothing when you have them compare fight A to B to C to D, right? Okay? Of course, when he fought Lara or when he fought Austin Trout, those were high caliber and very difficult fights in his career, earlier in his career. And that was a different version of Canelo, right? That was more of the young buck Canelo back in the day. So we've seen Canelo evolve throughout the years. But more importantly, I want to say that I'm glad and impressed to see that Canelo's jab has returned. Ever since the Jaime Munguia fight, Canelo Alvarez has been more committed, old school Canelo, in using the jab, because Canelo has always had a great jab. The jab that he used against Golovkin in the Golovkin series, particularly the second fight, right? So I always knew that ring IQ was always there. It was always there. And I was a bit worried, honestly, after seeing the John Ryder fight. I was like, I'm not sold yet that Canelo has truly regressed. He just has been maybe a bit lazy. Some might say or theorize, because he's more committed in golf nowadays, or maybe his arrogance and ego has catapulted into a different phase in his career, or maybe the type of opponents he's faced. Okay, so we get it. So there's a lot of reasons, but the thing is, it's hard to erase the purity of ring IQ, right? The experience. So I always knew that if Canelo wanted to, he could bring out his tools again. It just depends who he's fighting, right? And I had a feeling, even after the Munguia fight, or especially after the Munguia fight, that's when we saw Canelo bring back his jab. Not as great as we saw last night against Edgar Berlanga. So you have to ask yourselves, why did he use so much of a jab in this turn of events, right? Or in this time of his career? Well, there's a lot of context involved, right? Berlanga was a bigger guy, taller guy. If Canelo is acknowledging his state, or his state in boxing right now, and I'm referring to his age and physique, then he might have to regress to old school Canelo, or at least to the Canelo that we saw in the second Golovkin fight. And why is that important? Because he's going to need to bring back that bag of tools when he does the rematch against Dmitry Bivol at 175, or let's just say face the winner for the undisputed crown at 175, light heavyweight, because I honestly believe that Canelo is going to do that. All right. What else is there for Canelo? That's the money's there, the praise is there, the honor. It's all there at 175, and hopefully even after that fight, then we'll finally get the David Benavidez fight that many fans have been clamoring about. But objectively speaking and technically speaking, just as far as just accomplishments, it's obviously there's more on the line in him fighting the winner of Bivol, one, for that rematch, or two, just because it's going to fight for undisputed at 175. So can you imagine if Canelo let's say he were to win that at 175, that means he's a two-time undisputed at 168 and then at 175. So before I forget, let me just say that one thing that I didn't like in the Bivol fight, even though I did like the bravado or the machismo that Canelo tried to do against Bivol, smaller guy, but as we know, that's just a classic Canelo style as of late, right? That come forward, stocky, predatory style. But against a Bivol, that was the wrong game plan, and I think Canelo knew he fumbled it in that fight, and there might be some truths in that. He really couldn't use traditional styles or regress styles because he had a hand injury, right? They say that Canelo had surgery after the Bivol fight on his hand. I'm sorry, I don't even recall which hand it was, if it was the right or the left, because I think Canelo has had at least two surgeries, or I guess one. I want to say it's the right hand, right? Oh yeah, you know what? I do remember. Yeah, when he fought Liam Smith. Remember when Liam Smith, he had some problem with his hand, or he broke his hand in the fight. And I believe it was his right hand, because I remember he focused more on his left, especially that badass left hand, that left hook to the body in which he took out Liam Smith. So he did focus more on his left hand. And yes, so Canelo has had injuries, just like all fighters have, right? In boxing. So there might be some truth in that. Maybe, just maybe, that Canelo now has recuperated in some physical damages throughout his body. And now he is preparing himself for the next jump to 175. And I guess he had to test the waters with Berlanga in a regressed style. Okay, regressed style, because I knew, honestly, Berlanga was a threat because if you make a mistake, you know, especially when you're at 160 and above, man, everybody can punch hard, and you have to be careful with the punches you take, okay? Because a Berlanga punch is going to be more significant than the shots that, you know, Canelo took against Danny Jacobs, or shots he took against Munguia, or let's say even Kovalev or whatnot. So remember, Berlanga was fresh. He was the young tiger, the young lion, and he was ready to do a better fight in which, you know, Jermell Charlo couldn't do. Or I guess, you know, a lot of, you know, Canelo haters will bring up fights and say that that they should have fought Canelo this way and such. So, but anyways, it's important because most of us might agree that Dimitri Bivol is, if not probably the same size as Berlanga, maybe even a bit smaller as far as just rehydrated weight. So that's a good test for Canelo to get familiar again with the weights. Okay. Also that with Munguia, the speed of Munguia, the output of Munguia, and now the output in the ring IQ of a Berlanga. Because you might even, maybe you guys might agree with me. How about this? If you were to combine the ring IQ of Munguia and Berlanga and the work weight and the work rate and the styles of those two together, would probably give you a 39-year-old of the current Beterbiev, right? So you mix those two together, that might be also a preparation for the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol. So that's some good stuff. So I was really impressed with the fight. I was really impressed because you know, my theory was correct that when Canelo wants to, he will bring out his bag of tools when need be, and it depends on which opponent it is. And I think maybe the golf had affected a bit of Canelo's state of mind. I guess maybe what I'm contextualizing is I wasn't really too impressed with Canelo's fight against Golovkin in the third fight, or I guess the fight with John Ryder. You know, it is what it is. We can say we're not impressed with other fights with other pound for pound guys too, but I'm glad that at any rate we got to see that Canelo did choose. Let me repeat that again. Canelo chose to use his jab at least 5 times more output than what he did before, and we got to see that nice stinging jab. Reminiscent of, you know, how we used it against Caleb Plant, and more so just the advancement towards, you know, Munguia. I'm not going to really bring up the Ryder or the Jermell fight because those are all completely different fights. But man, I want to say that this version of Canelo that fought Berlanga is the version that we saw Canelo when he fought Gennady Golovkin. The only difference being obviously with the experience and the age, but more so the physique, because Canelo is obviously bigger now than when he fought Golovkin in the rematch, right at 160 pounds. So that's some good thoughts, or I guess some reality that you guys need to take in. Guys, the jab is back. Hopefully Canelo can stick with that jab, because that's what he needs to fight Bivol again. You know, Bivol will be surprised. It might have issues for Bivol to reset on that if he's not expecting it. But surely though, if that fight does happen again, Bivol will also do his homework and do the adjustments, perhaps to go more hard with Canelo this time around. So that's a good state of boxing right now. I'm glad that we got the Berlanga fight. I was impressed that Berlanga went the full 12 rounds. Definitely a tough kid, definitely a big kid. So he was able to tolerate those blows. The resistance was there, just because I think Berlanga was probably 185 pounds minimum in the ring, you know, rehydrated, just a very big guy. And so again, that's the type of tolerance. That's the type of battle-ready stuff that Canelo needs to fight the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev, or who knows, maybe even Canelo might do another defense at 160, maybe against a guy like Mbili, which I still think, you know, Canelo would beat as well. So that's what I have for this one on this Al Cuerpo upload. So tune in on this on another video of mine. If you guys want to check out some of my Spanish commentary, go ahead and look at it in the previous or recent videos on my uploads. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.